Hey, what's up, all? Seahawks training camp has just started over the last couple days. They're currently right now going through testing the players for the coronavirus. After that stage is done, they'll move on to strength and conditioning and so forth. So it's taking a little bit longer than usual. So when things get going, there will be many questions in different position groups for the Seahawks. Who will be the starters? Who will be their third and fourth stringers, and all that. So today I'm going to be talking about Seattle's wide receiver core. So it's obvious that for Seattle's wide receiver core, the two starters, number one and number two receivers, will be DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Obvious locks. They're both NFL top 100 players. They each had close to 1,000 receiving yards and a lot of touchdowns. And we can only expect DK Metcalf to get better. Brian Schottenheimer said that they're going to want to be putting Metcalf in the slot, making him more of a versatile wide receiver. And then Tyler Lockett, we know that he can do almost anything right now. And I think Seattle he'll be moving away from the punt and kickoff returning that he has usually done to prevent injury, because he got injured in the Niners game on I believe a similar play. So they're going to want a younger guy to take over. So who's going to be the final back half of Seattle's wide receivers? So Seattle currently has on the roster John Ursua, who was drafted last year, a 7th round pick. I don't think he started any games. He in the Niners game, the final game to decide the division, he had one very vital catch to make a first down on the 1 yard line, and it looks like Seattle was going to win, but they celebrated too long and had a delayed game penalty. So Ursua is a receiver who is a wild card. He is very similar to Doug Baldwin, but a little bit more height and all that. Very fast. He led the nation in receiving yards and touchdowns back in 2018. So a very good wide receiver out of Hawaii. The one reason Seattle didn't use him a lot last year was he had trouble grasping the playbook, trying to understand all that. The next wide receiver we have is David Moore. Moore was drafted in 2017, did not see the field a lot due to a lot of other starters with Doug Baldwin and all that. So, and then in 2018 he had a breakout season where he was very similar to DK Metcalf with his down the field threat, scored a lot of touchdowns, but then he kind of disappeared. 2018 he started out, I believe, with injury, struggled to replicate what he did in 2018, and DK Metcalf stole most of his receiving yard, or most of his plays. So Moore, if he can replicate what he did in 2018, I can see him making the roster. And then Seattle brought in during this free agency wide receiver Philip Dorsett, former first-round pick from the Indianapolis Colts. Dorsett is a very quick down-the-field threat who the scout offense that he plays well in is what Seattle has, where basically Wilson just chucked the ball on the field and he catches it. Where with Indianapolis and New England, they had a lot of shorter routes that was very difficult for him to do. With Dorsett, his strength is probably his speed. So Seattle's hoping to open up the offense, the passing game this season. So Philip Dorsett looks like he will be at least looked into during this training camp if he will be a starter for Seattle. And for the 3 undrafted wide receivers that Seattle currently has, Aaron Fuller, Penny Hart, and Cody Thompson. And right now, I do not know a lot about each player. Aaron Fuller, he played for the University of Washington. I'm a big Dog fan, so I know a little more about him. But with the way everything has turned out, I don't expect Fuller to make the roster. I don't know too much about the other guys. I don't think they will make it. Because I only know much about Fuller. If he plays well, I can see him making the practice squad and filling in case of injuries. But that's as far as I see him going in this 2020 season, because of all, no preseason, no training camp, no mini camps. So I don't expect anything from the undrafted guys. And then you got also a draft pick, Freddie Swain, who led Florida in receiving touchdowns and receiving yards. Another area Seattle could go to in free agency, there's a couple wide receivers that Seattle has openly been interested in. Wide receivers Josh Gordon, who has spent 6 games with Seattle before being suspended. He had a couple of huge catches that helped Seattle's offense. Gordon currently is applying to be reinstated. If he is, Seattle hasn't pretty much set out publicly that they want to re-sign him, and it wouldn't cost him anything. And then another wide receiver who seems like a long shot now from all the news, Antonio Brown, another player who may cost a little bit more, but a decent player. Brown, he's not a good locker room presence. He has tore apart the Pittsburgh locker room. Oakland did not do well in New England. That's why he's a free agent. And so, and then recently he announced he's retiring for the 3rd time in 2 years. So who knows what's going on with him. I don't expect Seattle to sign him. If Seattle's going to bring in another wide receiver before the start of regular season, look to expect Josh Gordon. So, I believe the starters behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett will be Philip Dorsett will probably be your number 3 wide receiver. And then I believe John Ursula will be the number 4. And then you got David Moore at number 5. Now I believe Seattle's going to have a 6th wide receiver because they're going to be passing the ball more down the field. So it will be Freddie Swain. So those are 6 receivers that I believe Seattle will have starting on their opening day roster on the 13th of September against Atlanta. And then if any wide receivers, if Seattle won't keep any more for their practice squad, I believe Aaron Fuller from UW. So that's my pick for Seattle's wide receiver core in 2020. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of my videos with Seattle, with training camp news, big trades and all that, keep your eye out for that.